Hello guys, so today I'm going to do some casual content. So if you are not into hearing me talk non-stop about things that you might not care about, or you don't really want to hear me drone through like what kind of units, guides, all that, then this might not be the video for you. But a lot of people have been asking me to do guides on like what stuff should certain units wear, or what a certain thing does. And I think just doing the occasional casual guides like once in a while could help lend you guys some help. So the format I'm going to do this on today, I'm going to run through each unit and what are their stat priorities, which mostly revolves around gear, because gear is the main way you control how your stats work. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a quick run through of all of the different types of gear sets and the different types of stats. So after I do that, it will be easier to not have to keep repeating myself for certain content. Okay, so let's just quickly go through all of these. I'll tell you which ones to look out for, which ones are absolutely useless, and you can see where you want to go from there. Okay, so first we have the knight set. Okay, so a lot of people still don't understand what knight does, and honestly, even if you had perfect English, or maybe you study English, this translation here is terrible. Okay, that's what I'm gonna call it, terrible. Okay, let's see if I can, let's show it here instead, because it stops rotating. Okay, what this means is basically for each enemy or each target you have, every single person receiving damage takes an additional 10% extra damage. Okay, the unit that you clicked when you selected your ult is actually the unit that receives the bonus damage is talking about here, the double damage. Okay, so how it works, if you play Golden Ball, you know how Golden Ball's passive works. This is quite similar. Okay, now I have, let's say, 3 to 6 enemy units on the opponent team, and I'm using Atomic Samurai's out. So what will happen is that after they take the base damage of the ultimate, which is, let's go and see, 100% damage, okay, the calculation for knight damage will then come in. So because you hit 6 targets with it, you will actually deal an additional 30% extra damage to all 3 targets. Sorry, all 6 targets, because you've qualified the criteria, which is that you have hit at least 3 enemies with your attack. Okay, so everyone immediately receives 30% extra damage. Okay, extra damage is a type of damage. It's literally a form of damage. Okay, now the main target you clicked will get an additional 60% damage instead of 30% damage, for a total of 160%. That is why knight set is actually a very, very strong set to have, because not only does it give you AoE damage, if you hit enough targets, the single target that you chose or selected during the battle actually takes plus 60% instead of just plus 30. Now what happens if you only have a single target? Let's say it's a single target boss. Okay, that's when this set is not ideal, but it's still quite strong. So what will happen is that the boss will receive 10% extra damage times 2, because double extra damage, for a grand total of 100% base damage, and then 20% of that is dealt as extra damage. So the beauty of knight set is that because even against single targets, it has plus 20%. It's a very flexible set. So for Atomic, for example, I don't have to keep switching out, because I use him for both single target as well as AoE damage. In cases where his single target, he actually hits for 120% or more because of this. So actually you get 130% plus 20% extra damage. And then for his out, I can do 160% damage to a single target with enough targets in the area. Okay, so that basically explains what knight does. So now I'm going to go to a variant of knight, or rather the original form. So over here we see the Swordsman set. So Swordsman is the exact same as Knight, except that there's no double damage to the main target. That's pretty much all it does, right? Easy explanation. So between Knight and Swordsman, should you farm Swordsman or Knight? The thing is that now that Talent Perfection is released, you don't want to spend your time farming Conquerors for Swordsman because it's easy to get Knight pieces if you are in a decent club. Every day you just kill Geryu non-stop, or you just keep getting the club boss chests. You will eventually gather a stockpile of a lot of purple Knight gear. Okay, if not yellow Knight gear, but purple will be pretty common. That's why I have 64 of these, but only 54 Swordsmen. So don't worry about which one to farm. Most of the time at your current level in the game, you won't be farming Conqueror's Challenge just because you would rather have the club versions of the gear. Okay? Next, I would move on to Suit. So Suit, very straightforward. Okay, not really straightforward. Now that I think about it, a lot of people don't understand what it means. So when it says increase damage reflection by 20%, what it's actually saying is not that it will take existing damage reflection and increase that damage by 20%. What it actually refers to is that it gives 20% damage reflection on any damage done to the target. This includes fatal and kill damage, meaning that if you kill the target during the attack, okay, he takes the amount of damage reflected at the point of the damage dealt. Okay, this is very different from Carnage skill, which I'll explain about later. Okay, this damage reflect is dealt at the same point of time that the damage is being dealt. So when, for example, you have Atomic, he slashes 5 times with his ult. Every single slash of that ult, he takes this damage. Okay, he can't die midway through the attack, but he will take that damage during the ult. Okay. Now, the second part of this is that after taking action, heals 10% of health. It's very straightforward. The wearer of the suit, after they've taken their turn, be it they use, like say, movement uses his out, or they use their normal attack, they will regenerate 10% of their HP immediately afterward. Okay, this heal is useful because it can trigger a few things. It can trigger Genius buff, the passive for Genius, which is that when someone gets healed, you get plus 30% damage. It can trigger Genius Core, which is that when someone gets healed, you actually get 2 energy, which makes it a very strong alternative to having to find a skill that heals, which there's only a few in the game. There's only King, Smile Man, Mosquito Girl. So Suit definitely is the best way to trigger like Dr. Genius Core. Okay. Now, the base version of Suit, which only drops from Conquerors, is called Casual. Okay, used to be my favorite set, but I no longer farm it at all because it's so much easier to get Suit. Okay, you basically Casual is just a weaker Suit. There's nothing much to be said about it. Don't farm it. Just stick with Suits if you can. Okay, now there's a big question for Suit, which is that a lot of people always... Okay, not a lot of people, but I always tell people, don't break your Suit sets. You can see I have 165 pieces here. So what's the logic behind that? Okay, it's very simple. If you have Suit sets, a lot of events in the game that require you with to have a limited team, like say Institute of Genetics, where you can use characters that are not use your entire lineup, not just your main lineup. These missions or these events will allow you to put your suits to good use because they actually reflect damage, and reflecting damage even as a level 1 unit, especially Institute at higher levels, it deals a lot of damage. It deals like some of the upper Institute units deal like 9 million damage per hit. Just reflecting even 1/5 of that causes 2 million damage to be dealt back to them. So it's definitely something you should keep in mind. Never break any of your suit sets. I can show you right now that almost all my units are wearing suits. Look, suit. It doesn't even matter that it's a purple, just dump it on them. Suits. All about suits. It's always all about suits. Especially when you reach the last stage of Institute, the most reliable way to keep clearing every day is just to keep throwing suits at the Boros mission, because they'll just kill themselves on your suit units. Okay? Now, moving on to two sets that are difficult to explain. Okay, so let's talk about Primal first. Okay, so what does Primal do? Let's give the view over here. Okay, so basically Primal is single target set. all it does is that it takes the damage you've dealt and deals it as extra 30% damage to the main target. Okay? Now, if, and I repeat this, if you are hitting a single target, okay, the base damage is 30% on top of your damage output, and then they take 30% of that again as extra damage. Meaning to say that for single target units like Amai, Boros, Primal actually deals 160% damage. And that is a lot of single target damage. Now I know that Knight also deals 160%, but Knight requires you to hit at least 3 units. Now these skills don't hit 3 units, so the only way that they can deal this kind of damage is with the Primal set. Okay. The interesting bonus effect of Primal is that not only is this for single target, but the target behind who you're attacking also takes additional 30% damage as splash. So what I mean by splash is that it actually deals 30% of whatever you hit the main target for as damage to the one behind. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, but in the late game when you are running like Boros, that 30% would easily mean 300% damage output of whatever Boros deals. And that's a lot of damage. Amai as well. You can try using Amai against some weaklings now. He will probably one-shot both whoever is in the column, basically. The 2 units that are inside the column. Okay? Now, I want to draw your attention to the lousy version of that set, which is... Where is it? Lightning set, yes. Okay. Lightning is Primal, but without the extra 30% to the main target, which means that it's very weak. Don't bother with it. Don't farm it. Don't care about it. It's basically useless. Okay. Now, moving on. Gangster. Okay. Now, a lot of people don't know that Gangster actually affects not just basic attacks. I will just highlight this, basic attacks. It actually affects follow-up attacks as well. Okay, that means that if you're looking to deal damage with, say, Beast King, the ideal set isn't Primal, but actually Gangster, because the bonus extra damage from Gangster actually applies to his follow-up. So that means that between Gangster and Primal for single target, okay, first of all, Gangster doesn't affect outs. Meaning to say that Boros out and Amai out are not affected by the Gangster bonus or the set bonus. But basic attacks and follow-up attacks, like in Beast King's follow-up attacks, are affected by it. And that's how you get another plus 35% bonus damage on every single hit. And why Beast King can become such a monster with his single target output. Okay, just put a Gangster on him. You can see that even though my Gangster is not well farmed, because like I said, I don't really do Conqueror's Challenge, but just having Gangster set alone is better than if you had only attack gear. Okay, now I've run through Knight, Suit, Swordsman, Gangster. Lightning is useless, Primal is strong. Now I want to talk about the basic sets. Okay, first I talk about martial arts. So when people see these basic sets, they go on and think like, oh, these are not very good. But actually, base attack stat is more useful than you would imagine, because even though it's just 10%, anything that's base stat related affects all things. It affects corrode output, it affects your base skill damage. Pretty much, it's not to be underestimated. Of course, when you're doing like Boros or Amai, 60% damage output increase is better than 10%, but there are situations where you might end up using a martial arts set instead. So let's say for Vaccine Man, logically you maybe want to use a Knight set so that your main target gets 160%, but as you can see, I'm using the better set here because I'm trying to balance out health and attack stat on my Vaccine Man so that he stays alive, so that my corrode procs will deal the extra passive damage all the way. So don't underestimate the so-called basic sets. They are still strong. When you get a good piece, then it's good for you. If not, you can just leave it there. Of course, the most useful of these might be either the better set version or the monk one, rather than the attack one, just because there are so many good support attack sets, so to speak. Okay? Now, what about Prisoner? frankly speaking, I don't actually know what Prisoner does, and I won't say like I know how to use it. But usually when you crit, and if this damage that increases by 50% is the base damage of the hit plus flat 15%, meaning to say it's not additional attack, it's not linearly related to the crit. If it adds 15% to that crit, flat multiplier, then this is a very strong piece of gear that you shouldn't underestimate. But for now, cause I cannot tell you whether that's what it does, I will just ignore it. Okay. Scholar. Scholar set is useful. Very rarely, but usually you see it used on, say, a Smileman build. So what a Smileman build does is that when Smileman gets attacked, he can trigger Scholar with if he blocks, and that triggers a heal that goes to the same column behind him, which allows you to use something like Dr. Genius to transfer healing and basically buff the other target. So that's actually the build I'm using in Arena right now. Let me just show you. So if you go to my Arena, or I actually took this build from my club's my club friend, of course. So let me try and show. Oh, what am I doing? I can show you here. Okay, so over here, when the enemy attacks first, I have very slow speed on this lineup. When the enemy attacks first, they actually cause Smileman Scholar set to trigger. He will heal from it, and his passive actually transfers healing to the guy in the same column. Now, when King receives the heal, Dr. Gina's passive actually regards that as a valid heal for his passive, which means plus 30% attack. And that's how this build works. It's basically a one turn Q build where you have the opponent attack you first. Deep Sea King's call will trigger and give you a lot of energy, boosting King's passive, and allows King to deal an obscene amount of damage when he finally takes his turn. Now, that's just one use case for it. I honestly cannot think of many other reasons to use the Scholar set, but if somehow you ever end up having a lot of block or something, maybe it'll be worth it. I don't know. I don't think that's kind of how it works though, because I think it's just 10% of whatever damage was dealt to you. So there's always a cap on how much damage you can potentially recover with this. So yeah, not very good for a set. Let's hope that it gets better in future. I know that China and Taiwan actually have new sets coming up, but they won't be here for a long time. Okay, now I've talked about pretty much everything except now Former. And yeah, Former. Former is the most interesting set in the game because the translation is so bad that nobody has any idea what it does until you finally either try it out yourself or someone else tells you. So today I'm going to tell you all now what Former set does. And if you've watched my Institute videos, you might have figured it out already. Basically, Former set will take whatever debuffs you are applying as a unit, as well as whatever debuffs that are already on the unit you're attacking, and infect it to the other target in the same column. So meaning to say, let's say that I have a unit, like, let's use some kind of lineup to show it. Okay, let's say that the opponent has just shattered my Smileman, okay, and he already has the shatter debuff on him. Now I use a Beast King with Formal set, and I use my ultimate on Smileman. What will happen is that he will be injured, and then the shatter from early on will still be there. And then the Formal set will then have a 50% chance in that same term to transfer the shatter and the injure to the King over here. Okay, now this applies to any debuff: stun, injure, shatter, corrode, burn. Okay, I don't know if it'll apply to internal injury because internal injury is consumed when the target is hit, but almost all the other persistent buffs will be transferred to the target behind. Now, before we knew this, we thought that Former was some shitty set where it transfers what debuffs are on your own hero to the opponent, but it turns out that it's actually pretty strong. So the kind of units that you want to put Former set on are, say, Chow Emperor, anything with a stun, basically. Yeah, that's actually pretty much it. Anything with a stun, because transferring stuns is OP. There's maybe only a 25% chance to stun a single column, but that's still pretty strong. Okay, so I've pretty much run through every single set, if I'm not wrong. Yep, I've gone through everything. Monk set is very good. Keep it for next time. Don't need to say much about speed in this game, right? Surely you all know the importance of speed. So, I'm going to do a very quick flash of what gear to use for every character, and hopefully that gives you guys an idea of how to build it. Now, there are no absolutes. Sometimes a certain set will be better or worse for a single unit. You just have to figure out the right balance and how you're playing it. So for example, Atomic, if you're playing him as a single target unit to clear missions like Dojo, you may want, like, I don't know, Gangster set. Okay, no, actually that's not true because Dojo Gangster bonus is reduced. Okay, never mind, but you get the idea. So, without further ado, let's talk about each unit. I won't show my gear because I don't want to confuse you all. Okay, so Carnage, I just want to talk about his passive for a moment. So, this reflect is different from the damage reflect in Suit and different from the damage reflect for DSK, Deep Sea King, because this actually reflects to the entire opponent team, and it's actually a passive of his own. It applies after the action is taken, meaning if I slash Carnage, the damage only applies afterwards. And the interesting part about this damage is that if he dies from this, he dies before when the damage output is dealt, this doesn't actually happen. This damage will not affect the opponent because he's dead. So that's different from regular damage reflect. The second thing to note about this is that it can stack with Suit and it can stack with DSK core, but DSK's core does not stack with Suit. Okay, so all of you who have been putting Suit sets on DSK, just like me actually, because I have Suit on him for different reasons, but Suit doesn't actually stack with the advanced effect. Okay, as disappointing as that sounds, that's the truth. They didn't want to give you 50% damage reflect, and for good reason, because that sounds OP. Now, you still want to have Suits, okay? Because not everyone uses DSK, but it doesn't stack. Yes. Now going back to Carnage, how do you build him? If his Carnage priority is because 30% is dealt to the entire opponent team, okay? Meaning to say that as whatever health he has, whatever HP he has, if someone attacks him, 30% of whatever he loses is dealt as AoE damage. Now that's insane because let's say I deal 10,000 damage to Carnage, okay, and he doesn't die. That 10,000 damage, 30% of it with the passive, mine is 5-star upgraded, okay, which is 3k, is dealt to all 6 units. That's 18,000 damage. So I took 10,000 damage, but I reflect 18,000 damage back to the opponent team. Okay, and that's why Carnage is in the meta for a long time to come, because being able to reflect more damage than you actually took means that every bit of his HP is basically a bomb. Okay, it deals a lot of damage. So people always ask, like, should I put Suit on him? If you think about it, if you do Suit set, you get plus 20%, yes, but it's to a single target. So if someone hits you for 10k, you deal back 2k of damage, okay, versus this effect, which is 18k of damage. So is Suit relevant? Kind of, but you would rather prioritize having a ton of HP on him, because every single bit of health, look at this sick health gear, every single bit of HP is going to turn into a bomb. Okay, not everyone has a perfect Suit HP all the way. Probably very unlikely. Myself, I haven't got even, like, I only have like what, 2 pieces of HP Suit, so it's not worth it for me to put Suit. Okay, now there are different reasons why you might want to put Suit. Maybe you want a 10% healing, which is a valid reason. But personally, for Carnage, just stack HP until you find top tier Suit gear to put on him, which would be very rare. Okay. Atomic, just put Night Set. Not much to explain. AoE hero. Okay, Gorebas is unique. Now let me explain how Corrode works first. Corrode procs every action, meaning to say when Gorebas first corrodes the unit at the start of the round, there are 11 actions left in the game for the opponent to take damage from. The later you are in the turn taking, the less damage Corrode deals. So he doesn't need a set, but if he were a set, it'll be Monk. Instead, what he needs is just lots of speed stats. Okay, only his top left slot is crit, because the criteria for his ultimate to corrode is that he needs to crit in order to corrode the target. He has a 100% chance to inflict corrode to the enemy who receive crit. Okay, so this is basically his build. No set, because understandably it's nearly impossible to find a setted crit speed. But if you do, then good for you. But you don't really get a choice here. So just put whatever is your best gear as far as crit speed goes. Now, for combo is different. Combo doesn't need to crit. So combo can do two builds. One is that combo can do speed, 4 speeds. Or combo can do speed, hit percent in this slot, speed and speed. So later when I go to combo, I might run through that. King, his best set is Knight, no question about it. It deals additional extra damage, which makes it fucking strong. Okay, not much to explain there. Vaccine Man, okay, he can use a lot of different sets. Okay, he can use formal gear to spread his own fire. He can use, like me, battle gear because he wants HP to stay alive. He can use suit to stay alive. He can use Knight to deal more damage. But overall, my personal favorite build is to balance out his attack and health. Don't care so much for the set because he doesn't move fast enough. He doesn't do a lot of things well enough. Instead, you want to balance out his stats such that his attack, okay, his attack stat and his HP stat are able to keep him alive yet deal enough damage to the opponent. Okay, so people always say Vaccine Man is a tank, put him in the back line so that his passive can do the most damage, blah blah blah. They don't know that Vaccine Man actually hurts because do the math. Okay, my boosted ultimate just increases the chance, but the base burn damage rate is actually 80% attack. Now 80% attack is a lot of damage when you combine it with this. It's, you think about it, 50 or 70% of 80 times 6 is a lot of damage. So you shouldn't discount his burn just because you need him to stay alive. He is an attacker. You shouldn't just build him as HP. If you build him as HP, you're wasting his potential, especially in Institute, for example. Institute, everyone dies in one hit anyway, who cares whether you have HP or not. In PvP is different, but I cannot really tell you how much HP you need to stay alive in PvP. Some people, maybe their Vaccine never takes a turn before they even die, so maybe building HP is the right way to go. Whereas for me, for example, I have a 5-star Vaccine Man, I have a lot of stats already. My priority is no longer just to keep him alive, but to make sure that he also deals enough damage. Okay. Char Emperor, okay, there's two builds. One is full former. Oh, what the fuck is this doing here? No wonder my Char Emperor hasn't been stunning. Hold on a sec, guys. Let me solve this questionable problem. Oh, I didn't even know that. No wonder my Char Emperor has been like shit recently. What did I put on him? I think I put this on him. Okay, now back to what I was saying. So for Char Emperor, it's very simple. Okay, all you need to do is make sure that he has speed. Okay, if he's fast enough, he will stun the target. If the target can't attack you, then he's harmless. So that's basically all he's good for. Actually, I don't think that Char Emperor is a very good hero anymore. His core is certainly still fucking good for PvE, but in PvP, his usage is slowly going away. Now, his formal set combo is still very strong, but formal set is a game of luck whether you get good gear. So I would say that, you can probably drop him when Zombie Man comes out. Put some, you can see that out of all my units, he is 1-star. Okay, 1 diamond thingy here, orange +1. I don't focus on him because he honestly isn't that great anymore after all the energy seal units started coming out. Okay. Boros, straightforward. Primal, all the way. Am I? Primal, all the way. Gangster, as I've told you in the video earlier on. Now, Golden Ball is definitely supposed to use Knight. I'm using a meme set here, don't mind me. I have funny stats on my death gear. So, personally, Golden Ball is worth leveling if you have F2P, but the only reason I don't have him leveled here is because I'm trying to just save resources. Yeah, so I would up him more if I had more resources, but I have enough units that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's just way too many units to train, so I leave him alone. Sonic as well, I leave him alone. I focus all my resources elsewhere. and that lets me have more flexibility on how to, you know, move forward. So I can focus my resources on Atomic for Dojo, things like that. Okay, what does Sonic wear? Sonic wears Suit because he's used in Geryu stage, and in Geryu stage, he has to go fast enough to trigger the Suit heal, which will cause Dr. Gina's call to proc, which gives energy for your Amai or your Boros or your or whatever unit you have to go to use their out. Okay, that's pretty much what Sonic is used for. Not much to explain there. Alloy, his ideal set is definitely Suit, but okay, he may benefit from a block rate only build or HP only build as well. Again, just prioritize and balance it out. I think Suit is the best build on him for sure, but you may not have enough good Suit sets or Suit gear to fully equip him out. Okay, Dr. Genus usually is a Suit wearer. Not much to say. Fubuki just uses shield, so just dump a lot of HP gear on her. Her only job is to create shield, so when you have her 5 stars, she can create a shield for herself and for someone. So just put HP on her, make her be a tank. Okay, Deep Sea King. Okay, Deep Sea King's ideal gear is actually Primal, or maybe not, I don't know. But the bonus damage from his out probably affected by Primal. Okay, I'm not sure, maybe not. Ultimately, you can play him as an offense or a tank. I personally think that he's better off being played as a tank. So if you somehow have like HP Primal gear that is used by no one else, then just throw it on him. Like I said, Suit doesn't stack with his damage reflect. So unless you have DSK 4 core, you should not put Suit on him. In my case, I just put Suit because I'm a memer. Now, Sub King, I hate this unit, I think it's useless, but he's kind of starting to be used in Live Clash, I don't know why. Anyway, so for Sub King, basically he only deals damage to a single row, and the best gear for him is probably Knight. Okay, although I really don't know whether that's a good idea either, so forget about him. Doesn't matter, just put crit on him or something for Dojo. I run crit on him. I run heal because I used to use him as a filler for my hero side. Scholar on Smileman. Now Sky King. Sky King can wear either Suit or formal gear. Okay, because he has a stun. So as I said, all units with stuns, you can put formal gear on them. But Suit, why Suit? Because in Geryu, when you fight against the Geryu boss, you want him to be alive for the passive, which lasts 2 rounds even after he's dead. And then since he's going to die even when he's dead, you put him in the front line, he gets nuked by Geryu, and Suit gives that tiny added bit of damage reflected back to Geryu Ganshu. Useless hero. Okay, Puri. Puri, by right, you should put crit gear on him with maybe either Primal. Actually, no, not either, but just probably Primal. I don't know if Night Set works on him if the AoE spills over. I wouldn't risk it. I think Primal is fine. So do what you want with Puri, but his main purpose in this game is just to do Weaken. He's one of the few units with Weaken, and he has good single target damage as well. So a lot of people like to use him for that purpose. He has an interesting passive that is very difficult to build around, sadly. Hammerhead, Formal, Moment, Suit, or Speed Gear, depending on what purpose you're using him for. And everyone else is pretty much just worthless, so worthless. For Mosquito, the best gear will probably be Suit, but you can also build her with pure attack gear or some kind of attack related concept, because her heal alone, it stems off her attack damage. So if you pump her attack, it could be a good idea. Maybe one of the few situations that martial arts is a good set. Genos, useless, doesn't matter. Fukegao needs speed because you actually use him in Hero X Monster even at level 1. Hero X Monster level 1, you just use Giant Stomp and start the round off with it. It will cause the target to be injured and weakened because of his passive. So Fukegao is actually very useful in HXM. Don't discount him even if you don't have him leveled. He is probably one of the few things you can use to clear out the hero side. Is it hero side? Or whatever side, it doesn't matter. monster side, sorry. Lightning Max, you just want anything goes really. It's just there for the stun. Probably Formal since he stuns. Tank Top, you want Suit. Okay. I don't train Tank Top, but he's basically the same as Alloy, so just build whatever you would build on Alloy for him. Tatsumaki, you need Speed Gear or Knight. Okay. I personally think that Knight, Speed Gear, there are quite a lot of potential things you can do with Tatsu, but see this? Every injured enemy increases the crit damage by for a max of 3 stacks. Not only can she proc this, but Metal Knight can do it for her. So if you want to build her around something weird like Prisoner, or you want to build her around something like lots of crit, Knight set, whatever you want, just up to you. Knight set will be the most logical. Suit. Metal Knight probably Knight set, not much to say. Same as Tatsu. Useless. This guy is interesting, by the way. He has a follow-up when the ally attacks and a skill that deals max HP as extra damage. So actually stacking HP on this guy will be a good idea. He'll probably hit quite a lot with his ult. It's the only ult in the game that deals 15% max HP as extra damage. Useless. Suit. All units with unyielding, you want Suit. So for this guy, you want him to get him to 2 stars, unlock his passive. Very useful unit. He gets unyielding. The way unyielding works is that if you reflect damage and you unyield, it will pretend like the entire amount of damage was done. Which means that if you deal like 100,000 million damage to him, he'll reflect the full 100,000 million damage even if he unused. Okay, combo, probably the build I talked about early on, just speed, hit percent, speed, or speed. Okay, her job is to go first. That's why I personally think that actually I shouldn't have built Gorebas, because combo is so much cheaper. But that's besides the point now, it's too late. Useless. Mass Aesthetician Man wants a bit of speed because his normal attack shatters. One of the only things in the game that does this. After Sonic came out, not so important anymore, but before Sonic came out, it was the godsend for the piggy bank mission because he has Shatter. So, useful unit. Some people like me, we take them in core trials because it's a free Shatter. Triple Staff Lily doesn't do much. Sorry, but even though she's my waifu, but she cute. Suit. Anything is useless is just Suit. Now this guy is Tenacity, but I would still say that it's Suit. Okay, Ground Kun is actually similar to Puri. He has Weaken. This is just combo, but it's on Grappler side. The only reason you don't use him is because he's a Grappler. He could come in handy in future, I don't know, but as of now, no one has the Grappler resources to level him, because you need to level Armai and Beast King and a tank. So you probably won't be leveling Messenger of Death. Useless. Hello. Useless. And that's about it. Pretty much covers roughly everything you wanted to know about gear. And hopefully you guys will stop badgering me with questions about who does what. Not everyone's gonna watch through a 38-minute video, so I'll be nice with you guys and reply whenever I can. But for those of you who survived this extremely long video, thanks for watching. I hope you guys like the less laggy, I switched to BlueStacks actually. So different games have different tolerance level for lag. Certain emulators work better for some games. So I haven't really been like trying to what do you call it? I haven't optimized it until people said my videos were really too laggy. So now I've decided to spare you guys from the pain of the lag. I switched to BlueStacks and look, all the lag is gone. You can even see during the fight that it's very smooth. Hopefully you guys like this new HD resolution battles. Alright, let's have a look. See? No lag. There's still a bit of frame rate drop, I guess, but better than before. I might actually lose here, because his king went first. My Gorebas is starting to drop off really badly actually. Anyway, this is not really my main lineup anymore. It's just the lineup I like to show. You can see my Carnage doing work. See, Vaccine Man, strong. Kaboom. And there you have it. That's the end of this video. Thanks guys, thanks for watching.